I'm Mr. MegaManFan, and welcome back to Genesis Does What Nintendon't, but maybe what PC Engine does, because once again we've got a crossover with Dragon's Revenge, a sequel to Devil's Crush. Or is it? Because according to the Devil's Crush page on Wikipedia, that game was followed by Jackie Crush and Alien Crush Returns. But if you look at the entry for Dragon's Revenge, it says that it is a follow-up to Devil's Crush. So I don't know where this falls in the lineage, and I don't have Jackie Crush to compare it to because that's exclusive to Super Famicom, and Alien Crush Returns is on my Nintendo Wii, and that is basically a direct descendant of the original Alien Crush that doesn't feel like a follow-up to this game at all. So it's a little bit of a mystery to me how they define the lineage. But what's not a mystery is the instruction manual, which I'm sure Ryan will be happy to see that I am reading. Although it's pretty standard for any pinball game on Genesis or PC Engine / Turbo Graphics. You're going to use the furthest to the right button to control the right flipper, and you're going to use the left on the D-pad to control the left flipper. That's how almost all of these games work on Genesis and PC Engine, particularly in the Crush series, which is one of my favorite series of pinball games. No matter what the lineage is or what order these games go in, they're all ridiculously fun. In fact, bit of a spoiler here, I actually cut off the video at about the 12-minute mark because I wanted to keep playing instead of talking about this. So I get so much satisfaction out of playing the Alien Crush, Devil's Crush, Dragon's Revenge games that it almost doesn't even need to be talked about. But I will anyway, just in case you've never seen this game before or don't know the history of the Crush series. And basically, the games don't even need a plot. You have a pinball, you hit things with the pinball, they explode, and in the Crush games, it can be kind of gory and messy. It's like a cross between sci-fi and horror and fantasy, so it's very visually distinctive. If you had played either Alien Crush or Devil's Crush, you would recognize that this is a successor or in the same family just from looking at it, because it has that same distinct visual style. But there is a plot here, believe it or not. Like I said, these games don't need one. They're straight up pinball action, but here's the plot for what it's worth. The village of Calfin's Keep has been enslaved by evil, and his consort Darzel, who used her magic to capture 3 adventurers, Krager the warrior, a female barbarian named Flavia, and a good sorceress named Arena. The player's role is to guide magic balls as a weapon on a quest to rescue the captive heroes and lead them in their fight against the forces of darkness. If the game is finished, the dragon is slain, and Darzel gets herself trapped in a ball. So whatever evil she's working for doesn't save her, this unnamed evil. And why do you need to know that? Why would you care? You hit the pinball around, you try to get all the targets in an area, you try to progress from the lower screen to the upper screen. It may remind you a little bit of Game Boy pinball games like Revenge of the Gator and Kirby's Pinball Land if you've played those. But again, those have a very friendly, cute, dare I say, HAL Laboratory Nintendo style, because they were both made by HAL. Whereas these Crush games have their own Gothic style, I guess you could call it that. So the publisher was Tengen in North America. The producer was Mitzi McGilvray. The designers were Peter Adams, Joe Hitchens, and Bill Hindorf. The programmer was Peter Adams. The composer was Earl Vickers. The platform, of course, Sega Genesis. It came out in North America and the European Union in 1993, and in Japan on December 10th, 1993, the only concrete date we have. This bonus stage is pretty typical of the Crush series in general, where you get to an area with a monster and you have to try to destroy the monster with your pinball while avoiding the targets that it uses to block your way. Although the bikini-clad heroines on either side are a bit of a style visual upgrade for 16-bit, because I certainly don't remember any bikini-clad babes on Alien Crush or Devil's Crush. Now, I have talked a little about how this is a series of pinball games, so let me take you all the way back to the beginning and give you a little more of the history of that. Because Alien Crush started back on September 14th, 1988 in Japan, exclusive to the PC Engine at the time, and then came to North America on TurboGrafx-16 August 29th, 1989, kicking off the whole Crush series as we know it. And it wasn't until decades later that this started to show up on anything other than PC Engine. It was on Wii in 2006 in North America and the European Union. Surprisingly, even though the series started in Japan, it didn't come to the Wii there on Virtual Console until January 9th, 2007, and then eventually to 3DS in 2014 and Wii U shortly after it came to 3DS. It also has been on the PlayStation Network in Japan, February 2010, North America, June 2011. But Alien Crush would be the reason there is a Dragon's Revenge. No matter what you consider to be the third game in the series, without Alien Crush, there never would have been a second game. So, we've got to pay homage where it's due. And I also have to add that Alien Crush would be one of the reasons I went out of my way to get a Turbo Express back in the day when I first started collecting. I mean, nowadays, if you're trying to get one, it's going to be a difficult proposition, not just in terms of availability, but in terms of cost. And it wasn't necessarily easy even back in the day when I first started collecting, but it certainly didn't cost what it costs now, let me tell you. So I used it and I played, pardon my language, the shit out of Alien Crush on my Turbo Express. And then I got Devil's Crush because I loved Alien Crush so much. It's freaking addictive if you're the kind of person who loves pinball games and loves gothic elements and loves the combination of the two. The music, the action, the graphics, it's all here. The designers of this series have stayed faithful to their core tenets throughout each installment, so if you played one of them, it's a good chance you would like all of them. They don't tend to disappoint when it comes to this series, which is why, if you're a fan of this style of game, these pinball games, they are beloved both then and now. But surprisingly enough, the games are still relatively affordable compared to some of the other more beloved games, maybe because people don't like playing pinball games on retro consoles. I don't know. They're either into shoot 'em ups or platformers or strategy games or role-playing games, but pinball games, they don't seem to get their fair shake. I guess I can understand why, because fair shake is actually something you might want to do to a real pinball table. There is sort of a tilt button here that you can use in Dragon's Revenge, but it doesn't have the same feel as standing in front of a physical pinball machine and actually shaking it yourself, giving it a fair shake, either because your ball got stuck or because you're trying to keep the ball in play by adding a little English to the table by physically moving the table, which if you do too much of, you'll tilt the game and lose your ball and possibly even your score, or maybe just get kicked out of the arcade for being too rough on the pinball machine. So do that at your own risk, but I know a lot of pinball players who will swear by the fact that they have to actually stand in front of the table and move it around. So if you feel that way, then this is never going to be satisfying for you. And the physics are never going to be one-to-one to the action of feeling a ball rolling down a surface at an incline. You're not getting that feeling when you're playing something digitally. So I get it. If you don't like that, if you don't want anything other than live action pinball with a physical ball, I get it. But if you're willing to accept a simulation of that and that's the next best thing, it goes for 15 bucks loose, 24 complete, and 42 sealed. So I'd say consider it because Dragon's Revenge still remains one of my favorite games on Sega Genesis. I'm Mr. Mega Man Fan. Thanks for watching.